Three young women, a city already on edge, and whispers of human sacrifice echoing through the streets of Fall River, Massachusetts. Between October 1979 and February 1980, three women connected as straight turned up dead or vanished without a trace. Their names were Doreen Levesky, Barbara Raposa, and Karen Marsden, each one drawn into a deeper nightmare that would shake this small mill town to its core, and at the heart of it all, a violent pimp, a supposed satanic cult, a web of lies, loyalty, and fear that left behind more questions than answers. This is not just a story about murder. It's about manipulation, about control, and about how desperation can lead some people into the jaws of something darker than they ever imagined. The first murder, Doreen Levesky, October 13th, 1979. The body of 17-year-old Doreen Levesky is discovered beneath the bleachers of Dimian Vocational High School. She has been beaten, bound, stabbed again and again. The brutality shocks Fall River. But what really fuels the fear and the whispers that began spreading almost immediately? This wasn't just a killing. It was something ritualistic. And in a city already struggling with poverty, drugs, violence, the suggestion that the devil himself might have a foothold here was enough to ignite panic. 3 months later, on January 1980, 19-year-old Barbara Raposa is found murdered in the woods. She had been a part of Fall River's underground trade, and like Doreen, her death was steeped in mystery. Her boyfriend, Andrea Matalas, raised suspicion when he claims to have psychic visions about where her body could be found. But before long, investigations began to look into the past of Matalas toward a far more dangerous figure, a man whose name has already been whispered in connection with Doreen's death: Carl Drew. February 1980, 22-year-old Karen Marsden disappears. Unlike the others, her body is never fully recovered, only a skull fragment, the last trace of her existence. But before vanishing, Karen had gone to the police with a terrifying story. She said she was afraid of Carl Drew, that he was no ordinary pimp. He was a leader of a satanic cult. According to Karen, Drew forced women into rituals in the woods, these blood sacrifices, scenes designed not only to horrify but to bind them to him through fear. Her words sealed her fate. Not long after speaking out, Karen Marsden was gone. Carl Drew was just 26 years old, but he ruled his corner of Fall River streets with an iron fist. He called himself a Satanist. He called himself the son of the devil. Witnesses said Drew would drag women into the woods, light fires, enchant into the night, and declare that the only way out of his control was death. To Drew, these murders weren't just acts of violence. They were sacrifices. Enter Robin Murphy, a young worker and associate of both Drew and victims, and the key to the case. Murphy admitted to being there. She testified that Drew was a ringleader. But her story changed again and again. Sometimes she painted herself as a frightened bystander. Other times she confessed to having blood on her own hands. Her most chilling account was of Karen Marsden's death. Murphy claimed Drew ordered Karen, dragged her into the woods, and had beaten her, decapitated, offered up in a ritual of blood and fire. But even as the courtroom hung on her words, the question lingered: was she telling the truth, or was she crafting up a story to save herself and get a lesser sentence? In 1981, Carl Drew was convicted of first-degree murder in the death of Karen Marsden. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Robin Murphy, for her cooperation, received a lighter sentence. But years later, her parole was revoked after she admitted that she lied during her testimony And so the doubts grew. Was there really a satanic cult in Fall River, or was it all a story born from fear, manipulation, and a city ready to believe the worst? Even today, many people argue Drew was railroaded. Without Murphy's words, the evidence simply wasn't there. The Fall River murderers left behind 3 young women, Doreen Levesky, Barbara Raposa, and Karen Marsden. 3 lives stolen in brutal, senseless ways. Whether the devil truly walked the streets of Fall River or whether evil was simply human may never be answered. What is certain is this: for those who lived through it, Fall River became the stage for something terrifying, a place where sex, fear, power, and death collided. And decades later, the whispers of sacrifices still linger in the shadows. 3 women gone, a city haunted, and one final question remains. Was it Satan who left his mark on Fall River, or was it simply the darkness of mankind? You decide in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps our channel. Thank you for joining us on True Crime Talk. I hope everyone's having a lovely October.